Hi, everybody. Just waiting on Sophie. She was having some technical issues with her computer, so she's going to join by her phone. Glad to have you guys here. Give me just a minute while Sophie gets ready to join. We're just going to talk about. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, let me see. All right. Can you see
Yes,
me?
I can.
Oh,
Welcome.
perfect. Yay.
Yay.
Welcome. We're
Well,
live.
oh, yes, I'm so glad that you were able to join.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. So I will start. I'm going to introduce myself and then I want to hear about you, Sophie. So
Sure.
my name is Jennifer Meyer, and I'm a therapist in private practice in Fort Collins, Colorado. I work with adults. I do counseling. I also do divorce groups. And Sophie and I are in a coaching, basically a big coaching group together. And so she and I got started talking about the connection between gut health and mental health. And so we're just going to talk. We're going to do basically an overview about what we can do, what can we control when it comes to gut health that will also improve our mental health. So I'm going to
Absolutely.
introduce yourself, Sophie. So glad that you're here.
All right. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Sophie Hong. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and a certified personal trainer. My company's name is called A Healthy You Journey because, health is a journey. It's not just a destination. I know we all go on our health journey, and including myself, I have a family history of diabetes, high cholesterol, endometriosis, breast cancer, a ton, so I'm trying to, not just having the knowledge, but actually, applying it in our lives. So all of that. So, and recently I find out that I have dysbiosis, and then I was like, I was eating so clean, how can I still have that? So it's my stress. So then I started looking into more of like the functional medicine, and then also like trying to, okay, I need to manage my stress better so that I can have better gut health. So yes, so today we're gonna share a little bit about how the gut and the brain are connected.
Absolutely. And I feel so excited about this because to me, how can you be truly mentally healthy unless you're also taking care of the other areas of your life, such as gut, exercise, nutrition? To me, it's so connected, and you're going to get into this, Sophie, but the connection between our brains and our GI tracts is it's both, right? It goes both ways, and you
Absolutely.
have one healthy without the other, in my opinion.
Yep, yep. Yeah, yeah. So, definitely, you might have heard expression like, you have felt butterflies in your stomach, when you're nervous, or you might feel nauseous, have diarrhea, before an interview or a presentation. So they all have that this is all kind of just an examples of like the connection between the brain and the gut, and they in not just one direction, is actually both directions, so unilateral. So that was very interesting. And
Right.
when our stress response is activated, that flight and fright response, the central nervous system kind of actually shuts down the digestion system, and slowing the contraction, of the peristalsis, and decreasing the secretion of the enzyme for digestion, because they need to kind of preserve energy. Our body can't just be doing too many things all at once. So okay, when their stress is here, they need to kind of focus the energy on dealing with the stress. So it's kind of like one or the other. When our energies went to the stress, then which is the sympathetic system, so they kind of downregulate the parasympathetic system to kind of let that wait a little bit.
Absolutely.
I mean, for
Let's
people.
add something, Sophie.
Yeah.
One of the things I've talked about before is our our nervous systems are geared toward really quick, right? We want to be able to run from a tiger, and it's supposed to. So in that sense, when our digestion slows down, it's to help us get away from that. But we're not meant to be in these long-term periods of stress where digestion is slowed down permanently, right?
Absolutely.
for this. So we're under stress all the time and we go into fight or flight, which is helpful for us, but we're not meant to stay in this.
Right. Right, exactly. Kind of like the inflammation response too. Like chronic, like acute inflammation is good for us because we need that to like kill like those bacteria and whatever viruses we are fighting, but we don't want to have that in the long run,
Right.
So well, when you have it too often or too long, then it's just causing other problems, like irritable bowel syndrome, ulcers, or dysbiosis. That's my case, which is the imbalance of the good and the bad bacteria.
Right. Interestingly enough, if you have those symptoms, it makes it really stressful, right? So just some of the clients I've worked with, if your gut is always twisted up, if you're having to run to the restroom, for example, it's stressful, right?
Yeah.
Which then
It's like
also
a vicious cycle.
first, the chicken or the egg. So it's really tough.
Right. Yeah, I know this is why I always try to, like for nutrition coaching, I try to not just go straight into their diet. I also actually talk a lot about their stress management too, because if their stress is not managed, their body doesn't feel safe to like lose weight or like work on other things, So I would say this is so important.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And the comment also causes stress to think what's wrong with me. Absolutely. I see that all the time. And panic, there's something wrong with my body, what's going on here. And there's such a link. So it's interesting how it is so interconnected.
Absolutely. So maybe we can talk a little bit about, what are the tests that can
Sure.
that'll help us to find out or assess our gut health situation. For me, I did the microbiome stool test. So this is different from the one that you get from your primary care doctor. Like this, they might just check for like certain bad bacteria, but it doesn't look at your whole microbiome altogether, like the diversity, like the variety, and all of that. So I did that, and then I find out that I have my dysbiosis,
Okay.
and then I find out also I'm low in some of the ketone species. The ketone species, which are like the influencer in the gut. So they also make a lot of the probiotic. You might heard the term prebiotic, which is like the food that's good for the good bacteria, the probiotic, and then there's the postbiotic, which is what the probiotic produce. That's good for us. So I find out that I'm low in the Akkermansia species, but the thing about this is it's not like you can just spot treat. You cannot just like, oh, I'm low in this species, let me just take that particular string of probiotic. It actually have to create like whole environment to support that, So even if you take that particular Akkermansia species, but the environment, the nutrient, we're not having that to nourish that, they're not going to survive. They're just going to pass through, So that's what I learned too. So, and I find out for the Akkermansia species, they love the red color fruits and vegetables. So recently, I've been very intentional about, getting some raspberry, strawberries, beets, and sometimes if I can't eat those, I try to have some of the juices. And I try to, because sometimes red juice is really sweet, and I try to mix it in my green juice. So I have mostly green juice, which is lower in sugar. And I mean, I try to eat the real fruits and vegetables too, but then I try to get more variety, So I drink my 8-ounce cup of green juice every day. Then now I'm adding a little bit of the red juice in to kind of increase the exposure.
So are you basically saying, Sophie, that it's not as simple as just taking a probiotic and everything's going to be okay?
Yep, there's no quick fix for that either.
If only it were that simple, right? The way they market probiotics, it's a fix-all. right?
Yeah, it's not. Plus, there's so many different types of probiotics out there, and it's sometimes a lot of them don't even survive the gastric system, because our stomach is low in pH, it's very acidic. So sometimes those probiotic capsule or whatever, I don't know, form that they take it in might not survive. So I try to take the spore-based one. So they're not, so you imagine a garden. So they're like the regular probiotic is more of just like planting new seed into like a soil. Maybe the soil has a lot of other, that's not the healthiest soil. So, but just throwing new seed in doesn't make necessary guarantee a good crop,
Right.
or harvest. But instead, try to focus more on like actually making sure the soil is rich in biodiversity and nutrients, because that's where the whatever you're planting, they get the nutrients from, is from the soil, and then also getting the fertilizer into. I have 8 raised bed and 14 fruit trees in my home, so I use a lot of chicken manure. That's my favorite way to replenish those nitrogen source and stuff. So yeah, so that's the analogy kind of makes sense to me because of the gardening. So definitely.
California, where you can have gardens all year round. I've got a very short growing window in Colorado.
Oh,
That's great.
I know, yeah. That's the one good thing about California. I still I was actually surprised. My cherry tomato is doing really well right now. I was like, oh, I guess this time. Usually at the end of the year I pull them out, but they still look okay, so I didn't completely pull them out. So January, I was like, oh, there they are. We stick around.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Okay, so getting back to the good balance, what you're saying with the garden analogy. So this is a reason people should hire someone like you, because you can't just throw a probiotic at it and expect everything to be good again, correct?
Right. Yeah. I definitely want to look into tests, and to kind of identify the species that's missing. And then we kind of have to work on how to create the whole environment for the bacteria to thrive in. And then also diet, lifestyle, all of that, needs to all come together. Plus, it's not just head knowledge. A lot of people, we know that we need to eat healthy, eat more fruits and vegetables, and exercise. But like having that support and accountability, that's what I provide for my client.
Absolutely. We have a question here, Sophie, from my friend Kenny. He said, you mentioned green and red drink. Can you share what the product is, or is there anything that you can recommend?
Oh yeah. So I usually I shop a lot in either Trader Joe's or Whole Food a lot. So Trader Joe's has like a cold pressed green juice that I usually get, or Suja. Costco has that too. They have the bigger version. So like the Suja green, the Mighty Greens, I think that's what it's called. And then and I get the red one from Suja has a red one too, and then also Whole Food, they also have their own red one.
Is
Yeah,
it beets and stuff like that? I feel like I
deep
have.
orange, and there's one other.
Okay.
I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they also the Organifi. I look at like the powder because I was choosing between which one is more, I get the most bang for my buck, or like having more variety. Organifi actually, the red juice powder is pretty good, but it's a little too strong for me. I try it for a little bit. I mean, everybody's taste bud is different. I encourage you guys to go try it. But instead of like this one scoop to my green juice, I just use a third of a scoop, even that is a little strong for me. So that's why I've been kind of just mixing the red juice with my green juice.
Okay. Gotcha. Thanks for sharing. Didn't want to
Yeah, no problem.
clarify that question. Okay. So I have a question for you. So if somebody comes into me in counseling and they're struggling with a bunch of GI issues, what would you say that what would be the next step? Should they look into working with someone like you, and then would you have tests done, or what would this look like from your perspective, Sophie?
Sure. I would actually look at a lot of different things. I look at their regular blood work, if there's any other underlying medical condition that we should be also be focused on, and then how's their weight, and their physical activity level. And after looking at all of that, then we figure out which one is the highest priority,
Okay.
and then I would say gut health it's definitely important. But then if people have, like, let's say diabetes, they're completely out of whack, I probably will jump on that one first, and then once I get that more under control, then I'll work on the gut. But gut is definitely up there too. And some people, let's say, especially if they have the symptoms, they have all these bloating, or gassiness, gas pain. I have one client, he actually went and see a lot of different doctors, and then he was trying so many different things because every doctor told him something different, So he tried keto, and then he felt like he has low energy because he was low in the carb, and then he tried, but that was when he felt the best. But then he also tried something else. I forgot what he tried. And then it just kind of made him really bloated. And I was like, have you ever tried removing gluten and dairy? And then he was like, no, Then I suggest him to try that. And it actually removed majority of his symptoms right away. Then I was like, oh, okay, cool, or some people, it might be the FODMAP that bothering them, So we might have to kind of just do a lot of food journaling to kind of, it's a process of understanding our body because everybody's different, even if they have like a particular sensitivity, but from like a sensitivity test, but their severity is different, or like the amount, let's say I would be okay, if I'm just eating it half a cup, but if I eat 1 cup and I eat it 2 times a day, oh boy, it will completely feel full-blown bloating or some sort of gas pain. So a lot of factors can come in play. So I think having good documentation, having some sort of food tracker, or like taking picture, and then having a systematic way, having a coach to guide them through the process would be helpful.
Right. Yes, I want to add something here too, Sophie. You mentioned a food journal, and you also mentioned carbs. And so one of the things that I've noticed with myself, and I know a lot of other people too, is when we get stressed, I start craving gluten, which I know is not good for me, and it does all those things. It makes me bloated, but I want to sit down and have a biscuit. Or like today, for example, it's the end of my work week, and I got myself a red velvet cookie. That's not good. I know this isn't good for me, right? So what I have people do is do a food journal and try to figure out what's going on emotionally when they emotionally eat. Do you have anything else that you suggest for people when it comes to that? Because I think when we're in stress, we start craving some of these things, like the comfort foods, right? Fatty, sugary things, but then they actually long-term make us feel much worse,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. I would say definitely having those good stress coping mechanism in place is so helpful. Because most people, they know that they're stressed. They just have a stressful life, I mean, I think most people are these days. Who doesn't, right? It's just the level of stress, and then are they having, let's say, prioritizing when they schedule their weekly routine? Are they planning in their, let's say, 10-15 minutes of deep breathing or meditation in place? That's non-compromisable. That's gonna happen no matter what. It's not like, oh, I will. Are they like on top of their priority list? Are they having, let's say, maybe once a month, like a massage, or like different things, that they have in place. They have fun, scheduling time with like friends to catch up, like having that social support. Are they having all of those things in place? Because if they are just putting that at the back burner, and don't have that pencil into their schedule first, they're gonna keep filling up with other things first, and then have the leftover, oh, if I have time, I will do it. Then that would most likely did not happen.
Right. It's so true. And I know better, but the best of us, probably all of us, end up doing stuff like that from time to time. So I want to come back to that, Sophie, because I think that's so important as far as the mental health part and what can we do to reduce stress. And I know that we're going to cover that. We do have a question. So as far as, do you have a good morning routine? We have a question about drinking first thing in the morning, like your red juice or green juice, having water first, then coffee. Fireman friend, one of the people on here we work with a lot of first responders. And so major gut issues, like law enforcement officers, what would you suggest as far as the morning, like a good morning routine to get your gut kind of primed for healthy?
Good question. So for me, it actually starts from the night before. You know, most people, if they don't have, let's say for me, dehydration is so common in my clients. So I tell them, so in order to make sure you have enough water, so I like to get my water next to my bedstand the night before. You know, so and some people, especially right now, it's cold. I like to have a thermos, with warm water that I already boiled the night before. And then so when I wake up, before I even get out of bed, I'll be drinking my 2 cups of water first thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I will have them, let's say, between breakfast to lunchtime, they'll do another 2 cups, like another bottle, and then another lunchtime to 3 o'clock ish, like their afternoon snacks, they'll do another 2 ounces, 2 bottles, and then from 3 o'clock to dinner time, another 2 bottles. So that way it'll cover like the 8 cups. And after dinner, just take sips because we don't want to be peeing all night long. So we want to have most of our water earlier. We push them early on. That way it kind of fit that at least 8 cups throughout the day. And of course, if they work out, then definitely get extra water as well. I think just doing that, I have one of my clients, I just told her, if you don't do anything, just start drinking water, and it's already like helping with the clearing things, detoxing naturally, because the all night long when we sleep, our liver works hard to detox for us, and we just need to flush it all out, like with the water first thing in the morning. And my client, the one who did the water, she was like, "Oh my God, Sophie, I poop so much," just telling me, and it just like helping her get all the toxin out, and she already like lost some weight, just from drinking water.
Okay, so you're not telling us that we can't have coffee, right?
Oh
Because
no. Yeah. Then after that, then you can do your coffee. Yeah, I would say it's just the amount. Like try not to do more than 3 cups. I think that's usually, especially if people who have anxiety, then they might actually really want to watch their caffeine intake. That's a whole different story. But I usually try to do all of that before lunch. So that way it doesn't affect my sleep. At night.
Right. Okay. So can we just sort of briefly cover something, Sophie?
Yeah.
So how does poor gut health actually impact mental health? Because to me, there's a really good connection between that's interesting that I didn't always know, which is that the neurotransmitters that are produced, those are impacted by gut health. So can you just kind of touch on that? We don't have tons of time to spend on it, but I do think it's important.
Right. Yeah, I would say it does definitely, because the neurotransmitter is produced in our gut, like the serotonin, the dopamine, and then the GABA, and they all play a huge role in mood regulation. So when there's poor gut health, it disrupts all the production and the balance of the neurotransmitter, and then also the inflammation, because when there's a lot of chronic inflammation in the gut, like from the sugar, the processed food, and the seed oil, or the high fructose corn syrup, it can lead to systematic inflammation, and which kind of triggers like the cycle. It goes and it causes leaky gut because those imbalance of bacteria, those bad bacteria, it kind of eats away. Kind of think about like acid rain. It eats away your mucosa membrane, and which is a very thin layer, and then it goes into your body because technically the gut is outside because it goes outside of our body, but when the bad bacteria with the acid ring, it kind of dissolve the punching hole in our mucosa, it goes back into our body. And then our body was like, oh, foreign object, like then they will have that, it trigger a whole cascade of systematic inflammation. And then it just cycles off.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also like the metabolites too, like the gut bacteria produce the metabolite, like the short chain fatty acid, and it can influence the brain function. So that's kind of like the quick gist of it.
Okay. And then I've also heard that like too much alcohol can negatively impact the good balance of the gut bacteria, correct? Stress,
Yes.
lack of exercise, right? I'm a huge proponent of exercise. Those are things that can mess with it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you, Sophie. Anything that you need to cover before we go to the next? I have another topic in terms of just what we can do, mentally to work on these things, and also physically. Like,
yeah, we can jump to that.
So one of the things that you and I talked about is being able to work on mindfulness and the gut at the same time. One of the things I found that I think is just so impressive is they're starting to create some programs. At least I saw it at the University of Michigan, where they're doing it's gut-directed hypnotherapy. And so basically they're doing some things to kind of help people settle part. And I know you have some ideas about that, but also cognitive behavioral therapy, some things just to basically calm your nervous system, which to me, so much of counseling is all about coming back to calming your nervous system so that we can do what we need to do when we shouldn't always be in fight or flight. So I wanted
right, activating that vagus nerve.
Absolutely. Trying to get the parasympathetic going instead of the sympathetic all the time.
Yeah, I would say definitely some of the things we can control is like that deep breathing, because the heart rate we can't really control. Some of them is just our body does it automatically. But deep breathing, that's something you can do it quick, because people, they might come up with different ways of stress management. One of my friends told me, oh, I love karaoke, it helped me de-stress. I was like, great, but like I'm in the middle of work, I can't just run out and go to karaoke, but I can do deep breathing right away, I can just like step aside, and just do some deep breathing. I can turn on like my Alexa, and just have some music going on, and then I can just close my eyes, like dim the light, and then just do my deep breathing real quick, and that activates the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic system right away. And then also how we eat too, because nowadays a lot of people even they skip lunch, or they just eat in front of the computer and working, and that really affects that too, because and I am a culprit of that. I'm definitely working on that. This is not easy, when there's so much going on. So finding but I've been intentional more about it, especially, for dinner. I want to make sure, I go to the dinner table, or, when the weather is nice, I try to go to my backyard, just go outside, get some fresh air, try not to eat too fast. And then also, if you're at home, like work from home, having a Zoom day, I know it's hard to like actually meet up physically, but having like a Zoom day to eat together, like that engagement, releases oxytocin and brings the stress hormone down.
We could do like Sophie, I was just gonna say we could do like a karaoke Zoom date.
That's good. I love that. Yeah. And then and sometimes using the essential oil, especially at maybe bedtime, I kind of like that. I usually this is my bedtime routine. Like after I wash my face and shower, and I like to do like a a facial mask, and then I turn on my music and I need to like relax anyway, and I do my debriefing and I have my essential on and then just like, oh, kind of just help me wind down and go to bed.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, exercise too. To me, there's exercise is so much more than just dealing with gut health and all of that. But think about all of the mood boosting chemicals that happen as a result of running, for example, or any kind of workout, and it manages stress, right? So to me, when you were talking about the calendar and things that are must-haves in the calendar, um, to me, every day I need to work out. It just makes me a nicer person. It makes me
I totally agree.
right?
Yeah, because sometimes when we're buried in work and then I didn't go for a walk that day, I was like, oh my God, this day is extra long. When is this day gonna be done? But like if I actually go for a walk or like I start out my day with like a workout, I feel like, oh, this day, like even if it's stressful, but I feel like it's manageable, it's easier.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I so agree. I completely agree. So I've always been a proponent of exercise and just being athletic in general. So good things. Anything else, Sophie, as far as let's talk about supplements. Can we talk a little bit about supplements, things that whether it's actually just helping the gut with overall gut health, which then in turn helps with mood, anxiety, things like that, or sometimes I encourage people to take some of these supplements whether they're helping gut health or just helping with some of the symptoms of things, they help with mood. So I want to hear yours, and I'll also share what I tend to encourage people to take.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I would say, always whole food is preferably, but me as a dietitian, I'm not perfect, so there's room for supplementation. And some of the supplement that I feel like is really related to stress management is magnesium, ashwagandha, or maybe like chamomile in form of a tea.
Mm.
So I know there's magnesium, and I also heard, they have the cream is actually more absorbable than the pill. So
like for feet and stuff, I've heard that for nighttime. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
Really? That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah, I went to this yoga expo conference and I was talking to this gentleman. He has his own product line. And then I was like, oh, how did you get all started? And he was like, oh, because of his son, he has this eczema. So he's trying to have like this really clean skincare product. And then I saw one is like magnesium lotion. I was like, oh, tell me more, And then he was like, oh yeah, because it's absorbed better than the oral tablet. I was like, oh, okay. So learn something new.
Okay. I actually just heard that from a client with some sleep issues, and she was talking about it's like a foot cream that's made out of magnesium for nighttime, and she said it was really helping. So I'm one of those people that sometimes struggles with sleep, so I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it kind of relaxes you, like it relaxes the
Right.
muscle and stuff. And ashwagandha, and some people, if they like coffee, they have like the ashwagandha infused like coffee. So yeah, they have different brands out there, so you can look into that.
Okay, great. I also think I want to hear your thoughts, but vitamin D in my
Yes, vitamin
really
D
helps.
is definitely affect on mental health and for me, I have a story because I find out that I have bone loss in my late 20s. And I was like, at that time, I was already a dietitian. I already eating my 3 servings of dairy substitute. I go for a walk 2 times a day. I was like, how, And then I find out from my dentist because when I go to my dentist, he said like, oh, my bone lost, like, and they causing the gum to recede. So then I was like, oh, maybe you should check your like systematics, blood work. So I went and checked my vitamin D. Because calcium I always check because it's part of my regular physical panel, but vitamin D you might want to actually request from the doctor. And then I find out once I do that, I find out it was low. It was pretty low. So taking like maybe just regular 1000 IU is definitely not enough. It might need to be a lot higher. And then I did like a DNA swab test and I find out I have a vitamin D receptor deficient gene. So I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely encourage everybody go get their vitamin D checked when they do their physical to especially request that.
I agree.
And then, yeah, I'm taking a pretty high dose of vitamin D for me to actually work. Now it's not just like, I don't want to be just barely borderline normal. I want to be in an optimal level, you know?
Right, absolutely. And in my experience, Sophie, a lot of providers don't automatically request this. I go in, insurance doesn't cover it for me, so I just go in and ask for that lab test, and then I take the drops, the vitamin D drops every day, and I swear it helps me. Fish oil. I know hormones can play a major role. We don't have time to go into all of that, but there's so many things that contribute to this. So I've also heard valerian root for anxiety, the SAM-E supplement. I've heard 5-HTP. St. John's wort has kind of come and gone and comes back again. So all of these things, any specific thoughts on any of those?
Yeah, I also do omega-3. The other one I haven't tried too much, you know, so definitely talk to the provider, you know, who is seeing, and then and of course not try all of them all at once, you know, might have to kind of work on one at a time to see how the effect on their body.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Perfect. One of the things too that stands out that I wasn't super aware of before this was how important it is to have just a variety of different foods, and that you can't always get all of this from supplements, correct? You need to have a variety, the greens, the reds, all of the different colors, fresh
Yeah,
vegetables.
yeah, this have to be intentional, you know, because I try to, let's say, I always recommend for lunch and dinner, you know, the vegetable, try to have at least 3 different color, you know, and then I try to I'm like a very fast cooker. I don't like to make fancy meals. I just want something, you know, quick. But I usually, let's say for vegetable, I try to do, let's say in Trader Joe's, they have the multicolor carrots, you know, and then they have like the multicolor bell pepper, tricolor bell pepper, or like they have like stock them on some frozen one too, you know, like use your fresh one, you know, first, you know, when you run out, then you have your frozen one that you can just pull together real quick. Or if you need to do a takeout, you can pull out some frozen one from your freezer, you know. And then nowadays they have a lot more variety now. Before it was just like, when I think about frozen vegetables, it's just those like corn and peas and carrots, which I think they're pretty gross, you know. But now they have so many more options, you know. They're just non-starchy vegetable, you know. They have different color bell pepper. They have like artichoke. They have like another one. I like the cauliflower, the different color cauliflower. You know, I like that too. So try different one and rotate them, you know, so that way you're increasing the variety, and because each color has different vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Sophie. So we've got about 7 minutes left or so, 5 to 7 minutes. So some of the behaviors that we can do to just to improve mental health and gut health. And so the things that I really encourage people to do, exercise is always number one, especially if you're struggling with anxiety, to cut back on caffeine. And also a lot of times what I notice with people is when they're anxious or depressed, sometimes they go for extra alcohol, and alcohol can actually have it can actually make you more anxious. So it might decrease that in the moment, but then there's a lag effect and it makes it worse. So exercise, calming behaviors that improve sleep, like yoga, meditation, all of these things. We have so many options now with meditation apps and like the Calm app, things like that. What would you add to that, Sophie, as far as, just ways to cut down on stress that also affects your gut health in a positive way?
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing I would say, I have a client, you know, she has anxiety and depression, but she tried not to take the med. You know, she's really working on it. So what she And she knows caffeine triggers her, you know, and she's trying to not do so much caffeine. But when she gets tired, that's the one thing she wants to go to, you know. Then I was like, okay, so is that late night phone scrolling, you know, she knows that, you know, she knows, okay, I stay up late. That's why I'm tired. The next morning, I need caffeine because I'm tired. Then they crave for the caffeine and it triggers anxiety. So this is like a cycle. So after I hear all of that, I was like, okay, so sounds like we need to stop that scrolling and put away that phone earlier. You know, I plan a bedtime routine, like an earlier stop, you know, that we have to make sure we go to bed on time, you know, and that we have more energy and we don't have to rely on that caffeine to for the energy, and we won't trigger the anxiety.
Yes. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, it becomes a vicious cycle.
Yes, yes. What else? Yeah, I was just doing maybe like going to do more nature walk, you know, like on the weekend. If you can, try to get out, especially when the weather is nice, you know, go hiking, you know, I love going camping. I used to be a Girl Scout, so I try to go do some camping, and then I'm gardening, you know, having a dog, you know, the dog actually, like, household, there's statistic that shows that household with dogs have kids that with stronger immune system and more diverse microbiome.
Right.
Yeah.
Clean the house, right? Because then we have a system. Yes.
Yes.
I like that advice. Okay. All right. Any last thoughts, Sophie? I appreciate your time. I think this is awesome.
No, I think this is great. I think this gives like a good overall idea, you know, and then maybe we can kind of share how they can connect with us. You know, if they have further questions, we can definitely address more on this one-on-one. So you can follow me on A Healthy You Journey.
Yes.
That's my handle, and then and there's a link on the website, in the website, ahealthieryoujourney.com, and then you can schedule a time for a free discovery call.
Yay, that would be awesome, Sophie. So are you able to work with anybody anywhere?
Yeah. I mean, most of the time is remote. Like most of the work I do is remote. I love Zoom, you know, it's very convenient. And then I try to follow up with them weekly, you know, give them a lot of accountability. And we'll talk about, you know, usually based on their specific concern, you know, we'll come up with a very personalized program for them, and it's structured yet flexible. I always tell them there's no never food. You know, I will never tell a client that you can never eat this, because they will say, Jen, you know, you can never eat this chocolate thing again. And you'd be like, you keep thinking about that chocolate, right? So it's everyday food versus sometimes food, you know, and I always try to promote like having healthy choice, the easy choice, you know, like I always, because we have like candy within arm reach, you know, let's say like Halloween, you know, and then we have that in front of us on the table, we're more likely to go for that, you know, or Valentine's Day is coming, you know. So, but have stocking your fridge, your freezer, your pantry with healthy food, you know, and then we'll talk about like in details in the program, you know, where to get what, you know, like the shopping list, and then that way, when people always think dry food is fast, but it'll be even faster, you know, and if you already have those in your freezer, you know, you can just pull them out really fast. Yeah.
Right. And if people are dealing with emotional eating, that's something I can help with as well. We work well together. We need to karaoke. So let's.
I like that idea.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Sophie. I've got to run. It's so good to have you here. And so, yes, everybody, please follow Sophie, a healthier journey.
Healthier you journey. Sorry.
Got it mixed up. Yes. So, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. And thank you, everybody, for joining.
Awesome. All right. Until next time.
Sophie. Bye.
Bye.